Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in today. We've been talking about getting your house ready for sale, as well as what you're really going to be wanting to look at for a real estate agent in today's market. Even though it is a seller's market, it's still very important for you to have an agent represent you due to all of the complications going on right now and how difficult the contracts have become. I'm going to go over a few of the things that you as a seller should be educated on when looking at the price of your house and looking at accepting an offer at certain prices. The first thing that we're going to go into is being able to do a market analysis on your house. This is where a real estate agent really starts to earn their commission with you. A lot of times when I go into these meetings, I have the seller tell me what they expect their house to be worth, and kind of give me examples of why they think the price is that way. That way I can understand where you are coming from as a seller, to best educate you on what I believe and why I believe this price is going to be better. And sometimes we come at the exact same price, and a lot of times we're going to be at very different prices. And this is where you're going to have to trust your realtor that they know what they're going to do. You hired them for this specific reason, that they are experts in the market. One of the biggest complications that we are running into right now is that you see these different websites that offer free home evaluations, and they just have an average evaluation up there for you. The biggest thing with all of these free home valuations and check your valuation now is that these are actually estimates on the house's value. They cannot really nitpick a lot of the small details that can make a big difference in the value. The reason behind this is that they're taking front end data from the real estate market. So, in an example, your neighbor just put his house on the market for $200,000, sold for $230,000. Those websites are going to see that $230,000 mark, and then they're going to adjust the prices in that area code accordingly to what matches up to the house that just sold. But wait a second, there's a 4 to 6 week process where that price very well will change, especially with 25% of appraisals coming back below agreed upon purchase price. So that house you accepted at $230,000 and your neighbor swore up and down he got $230,000 for it. In all reality, he had to go back down to $215,000, $210,000 because it only appraised at $205,000, and the buyer was only able to bring so much difference to the table. That's going to lead into putting the correct contract details and your agent understanding the verbiage in the contract so that he mitigates any risk for the seller and buyer and provides the best service so that you maximize your equity out of the house. Just because someone's willing to pay the $230,000, if it appraises at $205,000, that means they have to have $25,000 cash in the bank to pay the difference. And if they don't have that, you're either putting your house back on the market, or you're renegotiating with them to see how much of a difference that they can actually pay, and they might not be able to pay any of it. So now you're $25,000 down from what you expected on the property because your agent did not represent you correctly, or you did not know the correct verbiage to use to protect yourself in that way. As a real estate agent, I'm going to be listening to your opinion on the house value, but I also have access to that back end data where I can see, well, actually, your neighbor's house sold for $215,000. I talked to the realtor about the complications with that contract. Here's what it actually appraised at, and here's the money that they got cash over appraised value. It doesn't mean that your house won't appraise more than your neighbor's house that just sold, but it's going to give us a better starting point on your house when we put it on the market. And that's really going to come down to your agent's market knowledge is the different markets. You have a buyers, sellers, and kind of that the average market. Right now, we are in the seller's market. A lot of people have in their head that you need to just put your house on the market as high as possible and then have people bid on it at that point. That's a lot better in a that's a different type of marketing, and that's not really putting your house on the market. That's just listing your house. What I mean by putting your house on the market is that you need to put your house in a competitive price range so that you entice the most amount of buyers to put offers on your house. I actually just went through a situation very similar to this. I was showing buyers around in that $250,000 to $300,000 range. We went to, and I showed them 25 different houses. We rode up 3 times, and we ended up getting a house because we had an option of 3 houses actually. And all the agents reached back out to me and said, we don't have an offer on the table right now. If you go at asking, my sellers will accept it. As a seller, do you want to be in that situation so that you only have 1 contract to accept? Ultimately, for my buyers, they got amazing terms, don't have to pay cash over appraised value, and were able to get a lot of things that they were really looking for in a house because no one else was bidding on it. The reason why I had that many reach out to me is because one of 2 reasons. The agent believed that the price was a lot higher than what the market actually will support, or the seller was not willing to listen to the agent's recommendation and ultimately suffered because of it. My marketing plan is built around putting a house at a competitive price in the market. You should expect multiple offers within the first 24 to 72 hours. One of the last houses that I sold, within the first 12 hours, I was reviewing 27 different contracts with my seller, and we were able to pick exactly which contracts we wanted to deal with, really pick the terms that we wanted, to reach out to different agents to drive up the price even more than what we originally were going to get. That's ultimately the situation in a seller's market that you want to be. You want to price your house so that you have the most buyers walk through the house and the most people write competitive offers on the house. To do that, I have 2 analogies that I usually go with. Is that I enjoy bringing my kids to the zoo, and when we get over to the koi pond, guess what they want to do? I have to pull out the quarters. I got to go get them some fish food, and they start throwing the fish in the koi pond. As a seller, do you want to be throwing that fish food directly into the pond so that you cause a feeding frenzy? Or as a seller, do you want to throw the food right onto the bridge and hope that little pieces fall out into the pond and grab a little bit of attention? What type of seller do you want to be? The other analogy that I like using is that if you don't price your house correctly, you're essentially that used car on the Walmart parking lot in the far corner with a $20,000 price tag on it, and no one's going to go call you or look at it because they know what the market demands for that used car. So why would they call you on it even though it's in a high traffic area? But is it priced correctly for that area to get buyers to give you a call, reach out to you, and make an offer on it? It's your choice as the seller, and your agent should be educating you on the purposes and his reasoning behind the price. And here's a little example for you. Say we have a house that after we do the whole market analysis and stuff, we're seeing that houses are generally selling in that 205, 200 to 210 range. And the lowest house in the market sold for 185, 190. That's more of that remodel, a little bit older, and needs a little bit more work on it. After now analyzing your house kind of sits in the middle. It's not that high end. You did not get stainless steel everywhere. You did not replace all the floors to vinyl flooring, but you're a pretty average house in the market. In my mind, okay, well, 210 is kind of the high range on there where you have everything done. 185 is about the lowest that these houses have sold for. We really need to be sitting at that $200,000 mark. That's the starting point that this market is going to demand for the sale of your house. Just because something sold for 210 does not mean that we start at 210. The reason behind it is the same reason you throw the fish food right into the pond rather than throwing it onto the bridge. You want the most interest in your property in the shortest amount of time in a seller's market. The longer it sits on the market, the fewer sellers are going to be interested in it, and the more they're going to think that there is something wrong with your property, and the lower offers you are going to get. So by starting off at 200,000, that's where we lead into a marketing strategy to make sure that we get the most people into that property and build that demand, show people that there is a lot of interest in the property in a short amount of time, because that's going to bring you the most value. And that's where I'm going to tell you, yes, we are going to start at that $200,000 mark. But I 100% expect us to get offers above 200,000 because we are pricing it at a point where we can actually have the power to negotiate the contract details and really get what you want as a seller out of your house. And that's where you're going to have to trust your agent, and your agent's going to have to earn your trust when putting a price on your house. The next segment that we need to talk about is actually marketing your property correctly when you put your house on the market correctly at a competitive price. There's a lot of things that I do and a lot of things that you really need to look into when putting your house on the market. Look forward to telling you about strategies that I use to help bring my sellers the most equity out of their properties, and hope you enjoyed this episode about how to value your house in a seller's market, and look forward to continue helping